One.
Hello, everyone. Sophie here. I'm here today with Charles B. Ticker, estate mediator and author of the popular book Bobby Gets Bupkis, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Charles joins us today from siblingestatedisputes.com. Welcome, Charles.
Hi, Sophie. Good to be here.
So, I have an interesting question for you today. A father says that he's going to leave the cottage to one of his children and then divide everything else equally amongst the children. And here's the kicker. He tells the kid, the adult child, the son, that he's going to leave him the cottage and divide everything else equally amongst the children. What issues does this raise for the son? Let's call him John. What issues does this raise for John, knowing, while dad's still alive, knowing the plan?
Well, it could put John in a difficult situation depending on the family dynamic. If John has a good relationship with his siblings, uh, I've seen this happen. He may go to Dad and say, "Dad, that's very generous of you, but what are Bob and Sally going to think about this? They also like to use the cottage, and they might feel that you're playing favorites here, and it's going to create some problems for me after you're gone." So,
Stop being so ungrateful. I just left you the cottage. What are you complaining about?
yeah, well, I've actually seen that happen, and
Maybe I
unfortunately,
should cut you out of my will altogether if you're so ungrateful.
okay, I'll keep my mouth shut and give me the cottage, but yeah, but by either way, it's going to create it has the potential to create a serious sibling estate dispute that will end up in court and possibly before me as mediator, because we see these kinds of scenarios all the time. Unequal treatment uh, of children in an estate plan is there. It's greatly increases the odds of an estate dispute. Now, there may be very good reasons for this, why one child's being favored of the others. It could be that the other kids had nothing to do with dad and, never see him, never write him, never call him. So why should they expect anything? What's funny, when dad's gone, these siblings have a tendency to reappear and say, wait, we're family too. And, we don't think dad knew what he was doing. He was unduly influenced. So the bottom line is, if siblings want to fight over an estate plan, they're going to fight.
So would you suggest, okay, you already did suggest that John maybe go talk to dad, and that might go well, and dad might change his will, or dad might get really upset and, either cut John out or just have a worse relationship with him and think he's ungrateful. What about another option? Do you think perhaps this could also cause an explosion, maybe, but do you think perhaps that John should go to Bob and Sally while dad is still alive and say, look, guys, this is what dad said he's doing. What should we do about this?
Well, the situation, as you describe it, could lead to the following results. So, if John goes to his siblings, I think we call him Bob and Sally, and he says, "Look, you're not supposed to know this, but this is what Dad's planning to do. He's planning to leave me the cottage. I don't know what to do. I don't want to see a fight, And then Bob and Sally go to Dad and say, what are you doing?" And then Dad says to John, "Well, you breached my confidence with you, and and now I'm just going to sell the cottage, and nobody's going to get it." I've seen situations like this arise, and what happens, and people always blame the parents and saying, it's not fair to always blame the parents, but in a situation like this, where you have a parent sort of playing one kid off the others, you're looking for trouble. And that's what keeps estate litigators and mediators like myself in business, is the family dynamic. Okay, there's a certain level of dysfunction in that family, lack of communication, lack of trust, that leads to these sort of scenarios, that leads to estate disputes.
Yeah, dad might just say, well, to heck with all of you. I'm leaving it to the Poodle Society,
That's right.
let them set up an animal shelter in our old cottage. So, in terms of what you would suggest to John, does he have a moral obligation to do something, or should he just kind of mum's the word and then afterwards whatever happens happens? What would you suggest if John came to you for counseling?
Well, if John, well, I'm not doing estate planning work anymore, but if John were to seek advice, look, what do I do about this? There's a gift here that I feel uneasy about. Should I tell my siblings? And Dad told me not to tell my siblings. Um, Look, John always has the opportunity to refuse the gift if down the road if he decides no, I don't want it, and deal with it, that way after Dad's gone, so he doesn't have to get into a dispute with Dad while Dad's alive. He could try to tell Dad, look, I'm not comfortable with this. Change your plan, but that has risks as well. Um,
That's
so
actually a really
I
great
think
idea.
I'm
That's a
sorry.
great idea. That's
Yeah.
a really great idea what you said about refusing the gift. Or I guess the other thing is that he could divide it and share it with them afterwards.
You certainly could. I mean, you can always do that. But I think the advice I would give John, I said, look, I mean, John might care if it's a situation where John doesn't get along with his siblings, he's not going to tell them. But if it's a situation where they've had a good relationship, the siblings, and all of a sudden John comes to you because he says this is going to create a problem, then I might suggest, well, maybe it's time for you and your dad to sit down with an estate planner or someone to and have a chat about this and look at the pros and cons and maybe get dad to realize that what he's planning to do is something that John doesn't want, and something that's going to create not the kind of legacy dad wants to leave. It's going to create a dispute.
I think that's really good advice. Our guest today has been Charles B. Ticker, author of Bobby Gets Bupkis, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Charles joined us today from SiblingEstateDisputes.com. Charles, thank you very much.
My pleasure.